Hi, welcome to roseopalknits, a crafty channel. This is a crafty chat about socks. So hey, how you doing? Welcome. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back and spending some more of your free time with me. And if you are new here, I hope you stick around, you like what you see, and you consider subscribing. So, like I said in the beginning, this is roseopalknits. It's a crafty channel. I co-host it with my daughter-in-law, Daphne, but today it's just me. So a little bit about the channel. If you're new here, we used to be a multi-generational household, but a little over a year ago, my son and his wife Daphne and their children bought their own house and moved out. And so it hasn't been as easy for us to get together to do these crafty updates. We do record regular podcast episodes, but I have found that I have some extra things that I'd like to talk about and share, and so here I am recording another video by myself. Like I said in the beginning, it's going to be about socks. So what do I want to talk about with socks? I have decided that fingering weight socks really serve me no purpose. We keep our house at a lovely 65 degrees in the winter. We have hardwood floors, and if I'm wearing my fingering weight wool socks, my feet are cold. But if I wear DK weight, they're nice and toasty. And I do wear fingering weight socks out sometimes, but most of the time when I leave the house, I wear like athletic sport socks under my pants just because I like the feel of them. So I like the support they give me. So when I was going over my whips for this year, I had a couple of fingering weight socks on the needles, and I just didn't have any desire to knit them because I'm like, my feet are cold when I wear my fingering weight socks. And selfishly, I want these yarns to be knit into socks for me. So I've decided to restart them into DK weight. I'm going to hold the fingering weight yarn together and like double and knit DK weight socks. So the first one I'm going to talk about is in this Christmas bag. If you were around during December or earlier in January, you'll know that I cast on a pair of fingering weight socks in this yarn that I dyed myself called Chocolate Covered Cherries. And this is the progress that I made on it. Not very far, but I really want socks. I really want this yarn as socks for me, but I don't want them as fingering weight. So I have 150-gram hank caked up, and then I'm going to cake this up and hold it together to knit DK weight socks. I've decided I'm going to do a contrasting cuff. So I pulled some scraps, different browns out of my scrap bin, and I'm just going to figure out what I'm going to do there. I think I don't need too long of a cuff, so I might just try to do something with these, like the accent around the top of the cuff, and then maybe the cuff with this, and then save these for maybe toes or heels. I'm not sure. So that's my plan, to get this within the next week or so before the end of the month, to have this started as a DK weight sock. Another whip, fingering weight whip that I had is in this Anne of Green Gables bag from, I think it's Happy Mermaid Yarn Co. but I don't have a tag. There's not a tag on the bag, so I'm not sure. And in this bag, I have paper crane yarns, colorway chrysalis, fingering weight. And I have the start of a fingering weight pattern called Ann Girl by Elizabeth of Holly Press Fiber Yarns. And I was looking over the pattern, and I cast on 64 stitches on a US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle. And I was looking at the Ann Girl pattern, and I think I can modify it for a 48 stitch sock easily enough. It's an 8 stitch pattern repeat 8 times for a 64 stitch sock. So I'm just going to do the 8 stitch pattern repeat 6 times for 48 stitches. And that's my plan. And I've decided I'm going to split this cake up so that I can hold it together. And I pulled these scraps out of my scrap bin. They're the same yarns. They're leftovers from my swag sweater that I knit a couple years ago. And I've decided to knit the cuffs and maybe the toes out of this yarn. So, gonna get those started up as DK weight socks before the end of the month. And the last one that I had on the needles already is in this bag by Chair Stitch by Oli. She doesn't sell bags anymore. But it is, I've got 2 of them started already. And here is what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to leave these as fingering weight 64 stitch socks, and I'm going to go up a needle size and decrease down to a 48 stitch size, holding 2 yarns together. So this is a scrappy pair of socks. My bag is full of purple and blue yarns. So what I think I'll do is hold this single and then pair it with one of the scraps to create a DK weight, and just continue on in that way. These socks are for me, and I don't personally, as of right now, I don't think that I will mind that the top of the socks is fingering weight, as long as the part of the sock that covers my feet is DK weight, because that is where my feet feel the most cold. I am knitting some kind of broken rib that it looks like I don't even have notes on in my bag. I'm sure I can figure it out just by looking at it, but I'll probably continue with that broken rib pattern. So there's that sock project. I have 2 more to talk about right now. In this bag, I have 2 different colorways. They were 100-gram skeins, and they're both been broken into 50-gram cakes. And that's because I had originally cast on the Crazy Sock Lady Kayla Litton's Love Story socks. So these yarns are by Cannon Hand-Dyeds, and they are Frederick Wentworth and Anne Elliott. So if you are a fan of Jane Austen, you will know that those are the main characters in the book Persuasion. And I thought, hey, that's perfect for a love story sock. And I started knitting them, and I decided I didn't enjoy the process. So I ripped them out And I knew I wanted to knit socks with them because it's sock yarn. It is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And I knew I wanted to use them together because Anne and Frederick. But I just didn't know how to do it. So what I think I'm going to do is cuffs, heels and toes, body of the sock, held, you know, like this held together and this held together to create a DK weight sock. And then that will, you know, I'll finally have socks, Persuasion socks. And then the last project I have to discuss was not a whip. It's going to be a brand new cast on, and it's going to be for my son, Ralph. I have 2 balls of this Patent Croy FX in the clover colors. And I knit Patent's Croy socks as sport weight socks, not fingering weight. So, and he likes sport weight socks. I've knit him 2 pairs of sport weight socks. I'm not sure, but I'm going to knit him another pair. So I will cast on, I think 68 stitches for him on a US 2, which is a 2.75 millimeter needle. And those will be for him. So my plan is to, at some point over the next 10 days, get all of these socks started. And then that way I will have them to add to my active whips when I finish a project, most likely a pair of socks. So right now, I talked about this in my whip crafty chat. I am going to focus on these vintage Hufflepuff socks. It is a DK weight yarn, so I'm knitting a DK weight sock. And when this project is finished, I'll be able to just grab one of these sock whips that's already started and just roll with it. So I will check back in once I have recast on or started these sock projects by the end of the month. Right. See you then. Hello. It's February 7th. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon, and I'm finally going to work on my sock whips. I'm going to take the rest of today and some of tomorrow if I need to get them all recast on so that I will have them available to me to work on as needed. I have been focusing on a few other whips, trying to get them finished. So I've made great progress on them, and I'm ready to tackle these sock whips now. hello again. If you've made it this far in the video, then you already know that I'm back to talk about the socks that I've worked on, recast on, and a couple pairs of socks that I've started brand new. So back in January, I said I wanted to have all the sock whips restarted before the end of January. That just didn't happen. Life was busy, and Daphne did finally have our new granddaughter last Thursday. So, you know, I was with the grandkids while they were at the hospital, and things have finally settled down. So I took this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, to work on socks, and it was fun. I really enjoyed it. So I did take some clips. I may have put them in if they worked out. If they didn't work out, you didn't see them. But I am here now to talk about my socks fairly quickly, and what I'm thinking in my brain. So let's go over it real quick. Today is February 9th, and it is after 3 in the afternoon, and so I need to get this done and start dinner. But let's talk about socks. So still in this winter bag by Amy of Noble Character Craft are my chocolate covered cherry socks. Originally, I had planned to use these scraps, which I did, in combination with this leftover Barocco Vintage in the mocha colorway. And I did do that originally. And I'll pop a picture so you can see what it looks like. And there is just, this is a cool brown. It has like a gray undertone. And the rest of the browns that I had to use, and the brown tones in the chocolate covered cherry colorway, are all warm. So it was just throwing me off, and I was like still in sock casting on mode. So I ripped what I had worked on out and I recast it on. And I had pulled 2 extra colors out of my mini bin. They're not brown. I didn't have any more brown scraps or minis, but they are warm. They have warm undertones. So I'm going to use these in as well, because I only have 50 grams. I had 2 50-gram hanks of the chocolate covered cherries, but I'm holding them together to make socks. So I do need some extra yarn just to make them a little bit longer, because I don't want to make them shorty. So anyway, all that to say, I cast on 48 stitches with these 2, and then I knit 1 round in that color, and then I continued to hold this color, and I added in this buttery yellow color, and that's what's here. And I knit 5 more rounds of knit 1, purl 1 ribbing. And then I cut both of those yarns, and I started knitting with my 2 balls of chocolate covered cherries. And I am knitting a knit 3, purl 1 rib for the leg of the sock. And this is an Addy Rocket US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter needle. And yeah, so I only have 1 on the needles, and that's how it's going to stay. Honestly, I like to knit my socks at the same time, side by side, but I didn't feel like winding these into 20-gram cakes, 25-gram cakes. So I was like, ugh, I just didn't want to deal with all that. I already had enough minis in the bag, and I was like, I'll just do 1 at a time. All right, so that was 1, and I'm just going to talk about them in the order on which I talked about them in January. So the next sock whip that I wanted to recast on is in this Anna Green Gables bag by Happy Mermaid Yarn Co. And it is my Ann Girl sock by Holly Press Fibers. Elizabeth of Holly Press Fibers wrote the pattern. I'm on my floor. I gotta move my legs. And I had said that I was gonna use some of these scrap oranges that I had in my scrap bin in combination with this hank of paper crane yarns in the chrysalis colorway. I had 100-gram skein of it, so these are both 250-gram balls, and it's the same thing. I only have one cast on because I didn't feel like creating 4 cakes of 25 grams each, because I already had enough going on in this project bag, and honestly I didn't have enough needles either. So but really it was, I do have tips. I mean, I could have made it work, but I just didn't want all those small balls. So I did recast on, and I held one 50-gram ball of the chrysalis colorway with one of the orange scrap balls and knit 1x1 ribbing. That's my preferred sock ribbing, 1x1 ribbing. And then I cut the orange. I think I knit 12 rounds. Did I write it down? No. Wait. Did I? I have my notebook here. No, I didn't. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds. 10 rounds with the orange. Cut the orange and then added the second ball of the chrysalis colorway. And then I did 2 repeats of the Ann Girl pattern repeat. And I was really enjoying it. And I kind of didn't want to put it down, but I knew I needed to, like, I knew I'd just given myself my knitting time over the weekend to get all of the socks on the needles. So I was like, no, I need to move on. So I put the sock down. And again, it's a 48 stitch sock on a US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter needle. And a 9-inch circular is not my preferred way to knit a sock, but it's what I have. So the next one I have here in this bag by Cherish Stitch by Oli. She no longer sells bags, are my Scrappy socks. And I had said that I was going to leave the tops of the socks in fingering weight, and I was just going to switch it up and turn them into DK weight socks, and that is exactly what I did. So this bottom part here, like under the marker, is a 64 stitch fingering weight sock that I knit with a US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle. And then I switched to, hold on one second. All right. So like I was saying, and then I switched to a DK weight 48 stitch sock, and I am going to look at my journal here so I can tell you how I did that. I knit 4 decrease rounds. So I switched to 2 fingering weight yarns held together, and I switched to a US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter needle. And the first, so I was working down from 64 stitches to 48 stitches. So the first decrease round, I knit 6, knit 2 together, knit 16, knit 2 together, knit 6 on the front of the needle. And then I repeated that on the back of the needle. And then the next decrease round, I knit 13 stitches and knit 2 together, and I repeated that twice on the front of the needles and then twice on the back of the needles. And then the third decrease round, sorry, I'm not looking, I'm reading my notes. I knit 5, knit 2 together, knit 14, knit 2 together, knit 5 on the front side of the sock, and then on the back side I repeated that. And then the final decrease round, I knit 11, knit 2 together, and I repeated that twice on the front of the sock and twice on the back of the sock. And when I completed those 4 decrease rounds, I had 48 stitch socks instead of 64 stitch socks. And the reason I mean, you could decrease however you wanted. The reason I did it that way is just because I like math. I don't know. I just wanted to do it. I didn't want to do the decreases like stacked 4 times like a hat decrease. I wanted to spread them out over a series of rows and not stacked on each other directly, like boom, 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 one right after the other. So that's what I came up with. That's how I got those. And now I am knitting just like, not a broken rib pattern, but a broken rib pattern. It is knit 2, purl 2 for 3 rounds, and then knit 4 rounds straight. Knit 2, purl 2 for 3 rounds, knit 4 rounds straight. Like, I'll just repeat that on the leg of the sock, just because I have, if you watch my 12 cast-ons of Christmas, you'll know that I have a lot of sweaters on my needles right now that are just knit in the round. Plus I have a blanket that is garter stitch, so I'm just knitting back and forth. And so I need some projects with some interest, not difficult, but you know, something that's gonna like keep my mind from turning into mush. So that is, or it doesn't make my mind turn into mush. It just holds my interest longer, so I don't get bored with it, because I have a tendency to get bored with just knitting. That's why I watch a lot of like cop dramas with subtitles. So I could at least like I'm focused on something, so I'm reading while I'm knitting. But I don't want all my projects to just be stockinette stitch or garter stitch. So there's that. And then the next one I have to talk about are my Anne and Frederick Wentworth socks. I had cast on the Love Story socks by Kayla Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady. It's a beautiful pattern, but it's a fingering weight pattern, and I just didn't want to do it. I want DK weight socks. That's what I want. I have 2 of my favorite DK weight pairs of socks are currently wearing very thin. And I know I can darn them, but I just need more. I need more pairs. So the majority of these socks are for me. Not that they'll be finished this winter anyway. They'll be finished next winter, but okay. I have Anne Elliott and Captain Frederick Wentworth. They are Cannon hand dyed. I don't know if this dyer is still dyeing yarn. This was a gift to me from my friend Julie, and I've had them in my possession for way too long, and they need to be socks. So I recast these socks on as DK weight socks. 48 stitches on a US 3, which is 3.25 millimeter needle, and I am knitting it on 2 16-inch needles, because that's what I have. So it's just one sock, and I decided to stripe them. I was gonna do, I think I had mentioned I was gonna do like heels, toes, and cuffs in one colorway, and then the leg and the foot in another, and I decided, nah, I'm gonna stripe them, and again I'm gonna do some kind of ribbing pattern. So what the whole leg of this sock is a 1x1 rib, but I am, let me look down at my notes. The first color, the first stripe of Anne is 3 rounds of knit 1 purl 1 ribbing. And then the second stripe of Frederick Whitworth is knit all the stitches in one round and then knit 1 purl 1 ribbing for 2 rounds. And then the next stripe of Anne is knit all the stitches in the first round and then knit 1 purl 1 ribbing for the next 2 rounds. And that's how it's going to continue in the stripe pattern for the leg of the sock. And then when I get to the heel, I'm going to pick one of the colors to do the heel in. And then I'll go back to striping the foot. And then I'll pick the other color to do the toe in. That's what I've decided. So, yeah. And it's very stretchy and squishy. And I like it. Okay, so then I had also talked about casting on a pair of Patton's Croy socks for my son Ralph. And I did that. I don't have much of a start. So here is the 2 50-gram balls of Patton's Croy that I had. It is Patton's Croy FX in the clover colors. Okay, very pretty. I really like them. And I thought I was just gonna do like a vanilla sock for him. But I've decided to do a pattern. So I am doing, I'll put a picture on the screen. I am doing, I think it's Dana Ray Makes Fence Post Sport Weight pattern, because I knit Patton's Croy like it's sport weight yarn because it's a thick fingering. And so I cast on per the pattern. Well, the pattern has 2 cuff options. I didn't do either of those because, like I said, I like 1x1 ribbing for socks. So I cast on 62 stitches on a US 2, which is a 2.75 millimeter needle. And I am currently knitting them 2 at a time, magic loop, and 1x1 rib. And then when I get into the fence post, sock pattern, I will have to increase up to 1 stitch each sock, up to 63, I think stitches. So that's the medium size. Ralph is like my only child who doesn't have wide feet or super wide ankles. So he got that from me. My children with wide feet and wide ankles got that from their dad. All right, so that's on the needles and in this project bag by Mountain State Stitches. And then I had my Swift and ball winder out because I decided to switch the minis up in the chocolate covered cherry socks. So I had to wind those minis. And so I was like, yeah, I have more needles and I have more sock yarn. So why not just cast on more socks? And that is what I did. 2 more pairs and then I'll be done talking about socks. So in this, I think it's a makeup bag from Target, is a pair of socks. And it is super old stash. I think I did at least I don't know if I took video or if I took a picture of it, but there was still like the leg of a sock, not on needles, but it was still like part of the, like the yarn that I had put back in my stash. I decided, well, I had started, it was early on in my sock knitting, and I think it was the first or second time that I was knitting a DK weight sock, and somebody just rang the doorbell. Sorry. All right, it was my husband. I guess he forgot his house key. All right, so like I said, super old stash. I had ripped the needles out when I realized that the sock was just going to be way too big. I counted the stitches and there were, I think it was 58 on I think I had knit them with a US 4 and 58 stitches. It was just, the fabric was loose, the sock was going to be way too big. So I had realized at some point, like, I was never going to finish that particular sock. So I just put it back in my stash and it sat there. And every time I looked at it, I felt sad. Like, oh, I really wanted those socks. So I pulled it out and broke it into 2 cakes. I don't remember exactly what this yarn is, but I believe it's a KFI collection sock yarn, DK weight. So it's about like 140, somewhere between 140 and 150 grams of yarn. So when I weighed it, I had 144 grams. And maybe that's what it came as. I don't know. So I divided them into 2 equal, well, I didn't wind this into a ball because by that point I was like, forget it. I'll just knit from this because I knit from the outside. I'm not a center pool girl. I knit from the outside. So that is what I decided. And it's on a 9-inch circular US 3.25 millimeter needle. And again, it is some kind of rib pattern that I'm just going to do on the whole leg. I have decided that like cuffs are nice and they're pretty, especially if you're doing contrast colors. But me personally, for my socks, I don't need that. Like, if I was going to do a stockinette stitch sock, like if I was going to do a vanilla sock, I would do it. But if I'm doing like a rib pattern, I don't need it. I don't know. It kind of makes me think back to like the 8th grade when I used to wear slouchy socks with my loafers. Anyway, sorry, going on a tangent. Let me see if I wrote down. No, I didn't. It just says, oh yeah, wait, I do think I have notes. Yes, okay, I do have notes. Sorry. I got thrown off by my husband. Blame him, right? Okay, so this is what I did. 48 stitches, US 3.25 millimeter needle. I did 1 round of knit 1, purl 1. I did 1 round of knit all the stitches. I did another round of rib, but I did purl 1, knit 1 all the way around. And then I knit 2 rounds, all the stitches. And that's going to be my pattern repeat. So again, some kind of like broken rib pattern. And that's what I've got. And this yarn is super soft and I love the colors. So that's that one. And then the final sock that I cast on is living in this White Rose Fiber Co bag. And it is DK weight sock yarn. It's a 75/25 superwash merino nylon yarn that I dyed, dyed a couple years ago in like grays and blues and teals. So it's very moody. And they're both 50 grams of DK weight yarn. And I am knitting them 2 at a time, magic loop, 48 stitches, US 3.25 millimeter needle. Are you tired of hearing that yet? And I am knitting a 3x3 rib. So knit 3, purl 3. And that is like really taking me back to my slouchy socks. Anyway, but yeah, so that's how far I got on these. And I enjoyed spending the weekend just on socks so much that right now I think that I might make Monday through Friday knitting, sweater and gift knitting, and then Saturday and Sunday knitting, sock knitting. I'm not 100%. I might switch that up. But right now, that's what I'm thinking. It's Monday. I'm excited to get back to my other knitting projects, and but I could see like just focusing Saturday and Sunday on a couple different sock whips. I think I said I was going to knit one at a time till it was done, but who am I kidding? I don't ever just knit one thing. So I think that might be what I'll do. All right. Well, if you stay this long, I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me. And Daphne and I should be back next week with a whip update podcast episode. So thank you. Bye.